And in previous interview with Brian Stann, he said this is going to be one of the most violent fights in MMA history. And these dudes have that samurai spirit. They go out there time in and time out to throw down and really put on an exciting fight. And they really put on a hell of a fight. You see Wanderlei Silva swinging for the fences, and Brian Stann was swinging for the fences. These two dudes get my respect. I know a lot of people are saying Wanderlei Silva should be retiring pretty soon because of all his craziness that he does. He's a very violent fighter. You've never seen a Wanderlei Silva fight where he's boring. Even when Wanderlei Silva loses, you're like, damn, that dude put his heart on the line. And why I love the Japanese audience is, for one thing, you got to think about it. When Brian Stann got knocked out, and in the post-fight, or the after the fight, they were interviewing him, and he's like, yeah, I signed the dotted lines against Wanderlei Silva, and my heart is broken because he beat me. The crowd cheered for him. It's not like here in America, where when like Junior Dos Santos lost against Cain Velasquez in their fight, they booed him. I think you should cheer for a guy who puts his ass on the line and goes out there. That's why I love Japanese crowds. They understand the ground game. There's no booing. They respect the fighter. If they win, they lose. That's why I like a lot of fighters like Rampage Jackson, Wanderlei Silva. They love fighting in pride because even if they would lose, the crowds would respect them. And you have in America, like let's say a guy just gets taken down to the ground and he's on the ground for 30 seconds, the crowd's automatically booing because half the people don't even know what the fuck is going on. And to be honest, you have to understand the ground game is a part of it. It's not just going to be two men going in there like a bar fight swinging. It's not a boxing match. If you want boxing, go watch boxing. If you want two guys who just stand there and bang, go watch K1 kickboxing, and you will never have ground game. It makes me sick to see MMA fans always booing for no apparent reason. And I always tell people, even when I had a roommate and I was living with the roommate, I told him when he was there, get up, this is boring. I'm like, dude, shut up. It's exciting to see two high-level grapplers going at it. You're never going to always see, like, the Brian Stann versus Wanderlei Silva fight. It just never happens that way. But the reason why I thought Wanderlei should retire, because he's been getting knocked out a lot. He's been getting beat up a lot. But there's just something about Wanderlei when he was in Japan. He was just very excited, very pumped. He looked like the old Wanderlei. And his music, I don't know what it is, that little techno music. I said this on my YouTube video recently, that the fucking music pumps me up when I hear it. And it reminds me of the old Prize. Thanks for listening. In MMA, do they get the respect that they deserve? Because the mainstream fan like me, and I honestly agree with Kneebar Buffet on YouTube, that the next women's fight is not going to be as hyped up as it was for this one. You're not going to have the media hyping it up. It's just going to be one of those fights that gets overlooked, because you're not always going to have a woman title fight, and you're not always going to have you cannot always have Ronda Rousey fight on every women's card. That's just not possible. And if you think about it, Ronda Rousey is probably the most dominant woman in MMA right now. And you have like Miesha Tate, Liz Carmouche. These chicks are pretty fucking exciting. But you cannot always have exciting women's fights. I understand that. And if you have women on the undercard, women that are co-main events, they're not going to be as hyped up. And I honestly agree with that, because look at it this way. You had a lot of women in Strikeforce fights. You had a lot of women in Elite XC fights. You have this own organization that put on women's fights, and they're not broadcast as much as the Ronda Rousey fight just was. And I think if Ronda Rousey loses, the women in MMA and the UFC, it's going to be a fucking downfall because they're banking to make this women's division off of one chick. Yes, she's a tough chick. She's a hot chick. But